Well, 60 years ago, history was made on the streets of Detroit.
It was June of 1963 when thousands flooded Woodward for Detroit's Walk to Freedom, led by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He inspired the masses that day, delivering his first I Have a Dream speech in a major city.
Now, one of the people in the crowd was Elizabeth James. She was just a little girl back then, but she remembers the energy in the air like it was yesterday. And she shared her memories with 7 Action News reporter Kiara Hay.
But then it started growing.
Elizabeth James' office is organized chaos, decorated with trinkets, collectibles, and a sea of pictures strategically placed on her wall.
The children, I put them in the middle to keep them safe, and the community surrounds them.
As a librarian in Detroit for decades, James' goal was to expose children to as many experiences as possible, a lesson she learned from her grandmother.
That was the thing about my grandmama. We always were going on adventures.
One of the more significant adventures, Detroit's 1963 Walk to Freedom, led by Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.
But the motto for it was "The moment seems to be now."
The march being the first time Dr. King gave his I Have a Dream speech. James, nearly 3, was one of over 125,000 participants that day.
The main thing that I recall is this really powerful energy all around me. There were people there, some were laughing, some were serious, some had signs they were holding. You know, they seemed just very purposeful.
Detroit's Walk to Freedom was actually the 20th anniversary of Detroit's race riots of 1943. Those riots started right here on the Belle Isle Bridge. 34 people were killed, hundreds more were injured, and it took the federal government sending in troops to Detroit to restore peace.
You know, it's like each commemoration is standing on the shoulders of the other one.
When you hear that this year is the 60th anniversary for Detroit's Walk to Freedom, how does it make you feel?
Well, it really makes me reflective. Sometimes when I get a little despondent or concerned about how much more we have to do, it makes me stop and think, but you know what? We're a lot better and farther than we were.
As our country continues its fight for freedoms, James believes the next movement will come from the ground up.
We always talk about growing from the roots up and out, and I just am really, really excited with what's going on with the seeds in the garden.
So this afternoon I have a dream.
It could be those little 3 to 5-year-olds, exposing them to as much as possible because, again, who knows what's on the horizon.
In Detroit, Kiara Hay, 7 Action News.
Just a beautiful reflection of her experience and the energy in the air back then, 60 years ago.